Victorinox Farmer Alox. Got a little bit of a history now with what I would consider to be one of my favorite Swiss Army knives. I'll regale you with some of those tales on the second half of the video, but first, a brief overview of this knife, and it is a beautiful little knife. As far as the specifications and the tech notes, I will put a little pictogram on the screen where you can screenshot it. I'm not going to read them to you. But the first thing we'll note is with the Alox scales, of course, there is no scale tools. So you don't get your standard toothpick and tweezers. I think that's a nice trade-off for the aesthetics. Because again, I do think this is a beautiful knife. And you could maybe, have initials or something etched in the little panel there. But we'll go ahead and go over the main implements. I like to start usually with the main implement, which of course is the knife, or the blade, if you will. This has been well used, so I didn't bother cleaning it up or buying a new one for the video. Pretty standard blade length for what I would consider the 91 millimeter. Now these do have a couple millimeters on your standard 91 millimeters, so I think they are actually considered a 93 millimeter. But yeah, the main blade, typical to Victorinox. And then we have some other standard tools, the can opener and small flathead screwdriver there. And then opposite, as typical, the cap lifter, larger flathead screwdriver, and wire stripper. One thing that I do like about the Farmer is that it has a fairly usable saw. Again, the smaller size saws, probably the smallest tool or multi-tool, if you will, that has a usable saw, in my opinion. But we had some footage where we were using the saw. I actually used this knife to make a walking stick. We'll put some footage in there somewhere of me doing that. And then another useful tool that has come in quite useful is the awl or reamer. Now this one, I will admit, I cut myself with. It has a fairly substantial sharp edge on it. So that is not a simple blunt tool there. That has an edge on it, which you can see there. Now that's pretty much it. The blade, the cap lifter, can opener, saw, and the reamer. Now there's been several times where this has come in quite handy. Going back to the first year we got our farmstead, little homestead down here in Florida, I actually smoked a turkey for Thanksgiving in a quite hilarious manner. Basically, I made a makeshift smoker with a tripod and some industrial restaurant size aluminum foil and smoked a turkey in it. And how I smoked the turkey is I hung the turkey in the middle of that tripod surrounded by aluminum foil with a fire underneath, suspended with a stick and a piece of cord that I had put through the stick with a hole I had reamed with this reamer. There's been several times where I've used the reamer to make holes in sticks for lanyards or even little screw holes for maybe a spear, which has happened in the past. Quite useful tool. And of course, the saw itself, some people joke in Swiss Army knife and other, let's just say, knife themed videos. I've seen a reoccurring theme of people making fun of this particular size saw, that they would simply, just step on the stick or snap it. Well, I don't know if they had considered that sometimes you need a clean cut on a stick. Let's say you're going to take it for a walking stick, or maybe an eskrima stick for Filipino martial arts, a spear stick. There's many ways and many times and occasions to harvest a stick with a fresh, flat cut with no burrs. And these saws come in quite handy for those particular scenarios. Apart from the Thanksgiving story, we actually reuse that same stick to hang turkeys and other times, and chickens. We smoke chicken that way, using that same stick. Another time I used this knife is actually, believe it or not, in a survival course that I took out in the high mountains in the Pacific Northwest. Well, not really. more in the Montana area. And I actually took this knife because of its slender nature and minimalist toolkit, but effective toolkit. We had to have a chest rig for that particular course. I actually tied this down with a little lanyard loop with some paracord to a usable length where I could get it out of my chest rig and work with it. And it saved my butt several times during that whole week during that survival course. Being that my dirty little secret was we were not supposed to actually be carrying knives in many of the scenarios, and used rocks and various implements that we, would fashion from the environment. But there were several times where I was just like, no, I'm cutting this with my knife, and I had this tied down to my chest rig. A very, very effective and functional little companion, the Victorinox Alox Farmer. That's it. Like and subscribe if you like videos about Swiss Army knives, tools, and other modern implements. And we'll see you in the next video.